Join me today as I talk about Alien Romulus. This is the Geek Cabal channel. My name is Bobby, and today we're going to talk about Alien Romulus, which I just got done watching about a half an hour ago. Sorry for the interruption here, folks. I decided to go a slightly different way with part of this video, but I wanted to go ahead and keep the, hey, these are my thoughts right after seeing the movie. I'm recording this the day after. I'm removing the spoiler part, so I might reference spoilers here at various points. There will not be a spoiler section to this video. I'm going to do a separate video on that, where I'm going to go a little more into like, how does this fit in with the other movies, my thoughts on where they could go going forward. Basically, I'm going to redo that part that features the spoilers to do more of a discussion of the movie itself and some thoughts I have on it and things like that. So anyway, this is going to have, like I said, I'm going to mention spoiler parts that aren't really going to be here. So on to my initial thoughts right after seeing the movie. And mind you, like I said, I just watched the movie. This is his first impression. Things haven't had a chance to really swirl around, so I'm sure there's some plot hole I'm overlooking or something. And I'm usually a little more generous towards movies I just got done watching, especially if I found them entertaining. If you've seen the channel, I've discussed before how much I disliked The Last Jedi. Well, within the first few hours of watching it, I didn't think it was terrible. It wasn't until it all had a chance to sink in that I realized just what we were dealing with. I do not think that was the case in this movie, just to be clear. Okay, so non-spoiler stuff. This movie, to me, really got the feel of the better Alien movies, which is to say the first two. In my opinion, it did. Definitely did some world building and some ins and outs of some things I wasn't quite expecting. It's able to slot into the timeline just fine, and references some unexpected aspects of the Alien movies, and I'll get to that in the spoiler section. But overall, I thought it was a really good entry in the franchise. I definitely think it's better than Alien Resurrection. Probably better than Alien 3. Although I don't hate Alien 3. I think it's all right. It's probably, I don't want to say it's up there with Alien and Aliens, because those two movies are like classics in their genres, horror and action respectively. This leans a lot more towards the horror end than the action end. There's some action, but it's a lot more towards the horror end. There's a number of scares, jump scares, and since the movie had to try to thread an interesting needle where we, the audience, we know all about the Xenomorphs and their various tricks and everything, whereas the cast and the characters of the movie do not. So sometimes movies kind of stumble over things like that. Like, I think Predator 2 does a little bit, where it takes a while to show the Predator, but like if you've seen Predator, then you know what the Predator looks like, and there was no change to the Predator in Predator 2, no significant change, and so there was no real reason to conceal it up to the point that we see it in the movie. Now the first Predator, sure, because you don't know what it is, you just know there's something. And similar to, Alien, in Alien, we don't know what we're dealing with yet. In Aliens, we do, and as such, it doesn't take you're not very far into the movie before you see them. And then, likewise with Alien 3, you're really short into the movie, and Alien Resurrection, you're not very far at all. So, you know, you gotta walk that line here, and so it becomes, how do you generate uh, suspense when you think you know all the ins and outs? Well, you don't change the rules, but you change the setup, and you change some of the expectations. And of course, you're dealing with characters that have no idea what they're getting themselves into. So, yeah, I think the movie successfully threaded that needle, and it had the help of an interesting cameo of sorts that I'll get into in the spoilers. Like, definitely not one I was expecting, I'll put it to you that way. But, yeah. Uh, so it's an interesting movie. Interesting characters, you know. Definitely a whole bunch of, in the beginning, you're like, well, I know most, if not all of you people are not going to survive because this is an alien movie. So, with the notable exception of Alien Resurrections, the alien movies have a very high fatality rate, and this movie is no different. Although this is a lot more like the first movie, and we have a very contained crew that we're dealing with. It's only a handful of people, so the fact they're able to build suspense around that, this is really well put together movie in my opinion. So definitely worth watching. Sarah and I watched on IMAX because we were able to get a matinee price at the IMAX. It's an IMAX matinee price, not a normal matinee price. But we watched a 4:30 show, and that's Central Time because we're in Evansville. So, yeah, it looked really good on IMAX. I mean, the effects are great. There's one notable exception, and it has to do with the cameo, and I can't explain it without going into spoilers, so I'm not going to explain it, but I'm just going to... A character got the Grand Moff Tarkin treatment, which if you've seen Rogue One, you should know what I'm talking about. Because as whenever we were watching Rogue One at the Indiana State Museum IMAX, that was one of those moments where I turned to Chris and I was like, Chris, didn't Peter Cushing die like 20 years ago? Because I'm pretty sure he did. And he's like, yeah. And I was like, so what we got going on here? Like you know it has to be CGI because the actor's dead. So you've got a similar situation here. But it was but it was effective. It was interesting, and yeah. So that's about as far as I can get in spoilers. So before I go any farther, I will say this movie is probably a pretty solid... This is upon first viewing, but this is probably a pretty solid 8, maybe 8.5. Now, considering that, like, Aliens is probably a contender for a 10, because it's a near perfect movie. And Alien is, like, right up there as well. And I think Alien Resurrection is like a 6. It's entertaining, but it's not very good. And I put Prometheus and Covenant probably at a 7. So yeah, I feel pretty solid in the 8.5 probably on a 1 to 10. Definitely worth seeing in a theater because there's a lot of big space stuff and big set pieces, and it's 2 hours, and it went by fairly quickly. Didn't really pause anywhere, but it's also not like non-stop action like the finale of Aliens is. It gets close to that in the finale, but doesn't quite hit that. So, but it wasn't really... I don't really think it was aiming for that either. So, yeah. So that's where I think it falls. So before I go into spoilers here, in case you want to avoid the spoilers, like, share, subscribe, all that fun stuff. It's YouTube. Comment down below if you've seen the movie, or are you going to see the movie, not going to see the movie. What's your favorite Alien movie in the franchise? Do you consider Alien vs. Predator part of the canon for Alien? Is the Species movies an offshoot of the Alien franchise. Just all kinds of fun questions. Let me know what you think down there. And I'm back with just mentioning this is where the spoiler part would have been. And like I said, I'm going to make a whole other video where I'm going to go into the spoilers and where things fit into the franchise and where things could potentially go from here and some other thoughts I have on all that. But anyway, that's going to be a whole separate video. So just wanted to chime in here and again just mention that, yeah, it's kind of an odd cutoff, but like I just said, like, share, subscribe, all that fun stuff, because it's YouTube, and keep an eye out for that other video, and thank you for watching.